What's up, Mets fans? The Bat Fry, Kenny Fry here. Letting you know on this episode of the Bat Cave, I'll be recapping Game 1 and Game 2 and taking a quick look ahead at tonight's Game 3 matchup in New York at Citi Field. All that and much, much more. Throw your comments out there. Throw your questions, opinions, thoughts. Mets fans, Phillies fans, baseball fans. Let's hear it. I'll return in 50 seconds. What's up, New York Mets fans, and welcome to the Bat Cave. I'm your host, the Bat Fry, Kenny Fry. Oh my God, what's going on, guys and gals, everybody out there, New York Mets land, baseball land, and Major League Baseball playoff land, whatever the hell you want to call it, podcast land, it doesn't matter. I'm here checking in a special episode of the Bat Cave. Normally I'm on 10 a.m.s on Wednesday mornings. But I figured I'd hop on today. I wanted to hop on this morning, but I was out like a light after I dropped the little guy off at the bus stop and got on the bus. It was only a few minutes later, and wham! I was gone. I was done. I didn't wake up until probably 2 o'clock, and it's like God bless it, because I was all set for 10 a.m. So I'm like, I'll push it off until I pick him up off the bus. And so I have a small space here before I have to go pick my oldest daughter up at soccer practice. So I have about 45 minutes to get through this. So any comments, questions, opinions, thoughts on the series or anything else, throw them out there. I'll give you a shout out. But first and foremost, I want to let you know today's episode of the Bat Cave is brought to you by our good friend, Big Al. You reach Big Al at 1-800-HURT-123. That's 1-800-HURT-123. Jason Fine, attorney. Big Al, Jason Fine, specializes in motor vehicle accidents, slip and falls, workman's comp, and personal injury claims. He has 3 office locations conveniently located throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. His office in New Jersey is located in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, on 3 Greensward Lane. The phone number there is 856-209-5258. And in Pittsburgh, his offices are located on 500 Grant Street, Suite 2900. The phone number there is 412-365-8151. And in Philadelphia, his offices are located on 1628 JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120. And the phone number there is 267-888-2980. That's Jason Fine, attorney Big Al. All right. Ed, real quick, if there's any business owner or whatever out there watching the show right now and you want to be a part of the Out of the Box Sports Network as a sponsor, as a partner, or whatever, reach out to us and we'll work it out. All right. All right, let's get to it here. A quick recap of Game 1. What a great game! What a great game for if you're into pitching, and for the most part pitching and some offense, you got the best of both worlds in Game 1. If you're a Mets fan, if you're a Phillies fan, not so much. But the pitching was awesome. The pitching was dominant, especially as much as you hate saying it, because he's a Philly and stuff wearing the red. Zach Wheeler is just amazing. The dude is just absolutely dominant. I love watching Zach Wheeler pitch. I'm still pissed off he's not a Met anymore, but it is what it is. People move teams. People get traded. Some trades are good. Some trades are really bad. That one ended up being pretty bad for the Mets and pretty good for the Phillies. The Phillies should have the Mets should have just went ahead and paid the man what he wanted. They did not match the Phillies' offer, and here we are. It is what it is now. It's in the past, so. But again, he looked awesome. He looked dominant against the Mets. And, one of the things I talked about last week, the Mets have to have good at-bats against Wheeler. They need to work the count. You're not going to get many hits, many runs off Wheeler, if any. You need to figure out a way to get him out of the game sooner rather than later. And unfortunately, it was a little bit later than what the Mets probably would have liked, because Wheeler ends up going seven innings, 1 hit, 4 walks, 9 Ks, 111 pitches through those 7 innings. I did hear a couple of Phillies fans, I don't remember where it was, if it was at work or where, mentioned that they should have left Wheeler in. I'm like, the dude threw 111 pitches. He probably didn't have a whole lot left in the tank. He was still throwing gas. The dude was still throwing gas. He was still throwing terrific breaking stuff, mixing it up really, really well. The Mets hitters were off balance, just could not get anything going. And he was awesome. Wheeler was awesome. And but he didn't. There's no way he could have went out there. If he would have went out there for the 8th, I guarantee you, the Mets would have lit him up. I just felt like they were getting better at bats as the game went on. He did have 4 walks, which is not Wheeler like. He's they talked about this on the broadcast. I think it was ESPN or whatever, about his whip. Walks and hits per innings pitched, which is basically your traffic, on the base paths. And he has the best whip all time in postseason play, all time. The 10,000 years that Major League Baseball has been in existence, Zach Wheeler stands alone there with the whip. Whip it good for Zach Wheeler. He had a whip of around 0.69, something like that, 0.69, 0.66 or something like that. Is 0.6 something, which is unheard of. Is absolutely crazy, phenomenal. But the Mets were able to get some runners on the path, so it wasn't through hits, but it's through walks. And they did have him, in a little bit of trouble, but nothing serious. Nothing that you didn't think that we were going to get to Wheeler or whatever. We just had to figure out a way to get to the bullpen, and we did. We got to that Phillies bullpen, which, I've heard from some Philly fans, they hate the bullpen. I heard from some Philly fans that they're supposed to have a really good bullpen. I know the Phillies organization thinks that's one of their strengths is their bullpen, but so far in this series, it has not been. That's not meaning that it won't turn into that, but the Mets got to the Phillies bullpen, and they lit them up. They lit up Hoffman, Strom, and I don't remember who else were out there. Ruiz, I think it was, maybe out there as well. They lit him up. But we also had a surprise starter for the Mets in this game, game 1. When it was announced Kodai Senga was getting the start, I was shocked. I was floored. I couldn't believe it. I thought his season was done. I talked about it a couple weeks ago when it was announced that he was not returning for the regular season. I'm like, well, if he's not going to return for the regular season, why would you bring him in for the postseason? It just didn't make sense to me. But lo and behold, he gets the start. And you knew it wasn't going to be a long start. You knew it was going to be a short start, a bullpen type game. And that's what it ended up being. So he goes out there, and I for one, extremely excited to see Kodai Senga pitch, especially seeing what he did last season, and then what he did in the only one start he had this year when he came off. He had some arm soreness, arm tightness, some issues with his shoulder during spring training, so that led him to the IL all the way up until I believe it was July 29th. Yeah, it was July 29th, July 26th, something like that, where he had July 26th, where he ends up facing the Braves, and he looked phenomenal. He goes 5 1/3 innings pitched, strikes out 9, but he gets hurt on an infield pop-up. Just getting out of the way, strains his calf, and he's out the rest of the regular season, which is unfortunate. Now, who knows how this season would have turned out if Kodai Senga was in the regular rotation, if the Mets wouldn't have had to fight and claw their way into the postseason and then fight and claw their way through the wild card round through the Brewers. But I'm telling you what, I wouldn't have it any other way. The way they got in, the way they were able to battle against the Brewers, and the way they were able to win game 1 against the Phillies, I wouldn't have it any other way. So maybe it's for the best that he was not here. Adds to the lore, adds to the mystique of this year's New York Mets ball club. We got a comment here. I'm going to throw this out real quick. We got Cowboy Dave checking in. What's up, Dave? He said, "What's going on, big man?" I can't do my Dave voice. I can't do it, but you get it. You've heard Dave's voice before on the many shows that he's on here on the Out of the Box Sports Network. Dave, how you feeling about your Phillies' chances tonight? Nola on the mound against Sean Manaea, the Mets ace, against the Phillies. I guess number 2. I guess it would be. I don't know if he's their number 2, if Christopher Sanchez is their number 2, or if Ranger Suarez, who looked like their ace early on this season, if he's their number 2. I have no idea about the Phillies' rotation. But anyway, back to this game 1. So Senga goes out there, bottom of the first inning. Of course, you're facing Schwarber. You're facing a big gun right up top. What a fantastic season Schwarber's had this year. I ripped his ass last year and the year before, especially last year. Dave is not so confident. Well, you never know. Nola, he does usually a pretty decent job in the postseason. I know that the Mets had his number in the regular season, but in the postseason, It's a different ball game. It's a different animal in the postseason. But I ripped Schwarber's ass last season. Like, yeah, he had 50 home runs, but he also hit like 201 or whatever the hell it was, barely over 200. And, you know, I wouldn't want that on my team. And, you know, of course, we had, you know, guys like Lindor and Alonso last year barely hitting over 200 as well. So I'm kind of a hypocrite, but I don't care. I can't be a hypocrite. It's my show. Anyway, this year, you know, I'm not exactly sure what his average finished off, but I know I've seen it at times this year where he was hitting, you know, 230, 240, and, you know, close to 250. Kudos to him. Kudos to Schwarber, you know, getting on base, hitting, you know, getting base hits, you know, still hitting the bomb, still being, you know, crazy scary at the top of that lineup. And he strikes first against Kodai Senga. You know, third pitch in, Senga hangs a meatball right down the middle of the plate. I think it was a fastball, and Schwarber, I don't think the ball has landed yet, to be honest with you. He absolutely crushed it. And, you know, as much as I hate the Phillies, I do enjoy watching Kyle Schwarber hit the ball very, very far. So I do enjoy watching that. So the Phillies get off real quick, 1-0. You have the Citizens Bank Ballpark going absolutely insane. Now the sea of red, it's impressive to see. You got to give kudos to those Phillies fans. You know, they show up, they show out for big series and for the playoffs especially. They're there all season long, but when it's crunch time, when it's a big series or a big you know, when it's playoffs, they're there, and it's tenfold. It is absolutely tenfold. They're loud, they're crazy, and you know, to start the game off like that for their offense, there couldn't have been a worse way for the Mets to start. You know, you're like, oh man, what are we gonna get out of Senga? Is he gonna go up? Is he gonna give up a quick, you know, 3 runs, and we're gonna have to hook him early? And, you know, what do we got after that? Are we going Peterson, or what are we gonna do? But Senga settled down. You know, he didn't look like he was rattled at all. He did have to work a couple counts a little bit deeper than I would have liked, but, you know, he settled down. His fastball looked good. The fork looked good. His sweeper looked good. So I really liked what we saw from Kodai Senga. He only ends up going 2 innings pitched. Only gave up 1 hit, that 1 earned run. That's the only hit he gave up. 1 walk. That was to Bryce Harper, I believe. 3 strikeouts. That's 2 innings pitched, 30 pitches. You couldn't have asked for more from Kodai Senga. I thought it was a great way to get his feet back wet, especially with some October baseball, back into the rotation. And we'll see if we see him again or not this series. You know, is it going to be in a relief type role, or is it going to be as a starter again, and, you know, in a shortened role in another bullpen type game, where we go from Senga to we went to David Peterson. Then he went 3 innings pitched, 1 hit, 3 walks, 1 strikeout. I don't like the walks, but again, it's a scary ass lineup that you're facing here against Philadelphia. We have another comment here. Joe Sullivan from the Sully Squad checking. He says, "Huge game. Whoever wins tonight wins the series." I could agree with that. The only thing, if the Mets lose, I still have some pretty good confidence in Jose Quintana pitching for the Mets in Game 4. But I just don't know who the Phillies do. The Phillies go with Ranger Suarez, who really struggled the second half of the season, or do they pull ahead Zach Wheeler on short? I think it'd be short rest for him, and let him try to end it in Game 4. Do they hold on to Wheeler for Game 5 if it does go 5? So it's one of those things. Like, I agree, whoever wins tonight does win the series. But I do have a lot of confidence in Quintana, the way he's thrown this season. And you know, his last time out against the Phillies, he was phenomenal. I think he was 7 innings pitched, no runs, maybe like 3 or 4 hits, something like that. So he looked good last time out against the Phils. So you had Peterson. If you're not familiar with Joe Sullivan, Sully Squad, like I said, he does a show on Mondays. He was on yesterday, 6 p.m., talking Philadelphia sports. So that's, you know, all Philadelphia sports, Phillies, Eagles, all major Philadelphia sports, Flyers, and Sixers and stuff. So yeah, Peterson, he goes 3 innings pitched, 1 hit, 3 walks, 1 strikeout against that scary lineup, a couple walks. I think they walked Harper again. I'm sure they did. Reed Garrett, he comes out, he pitches a great 2 innings. He only won 1 strikeout. It's touch and go with Reed Garrett. You know, the first half of the season looked awesome, looked outstanding. Second half of the season, it's touch and go. He spent a little bit of time on the injured list. There were some times where he was just getting rocked, you know, couldn't locate anything. His fastball was getting drilled. Then there was times where he looked unhittable again. So the Reed Garrett that pitched against the Phillies on, I guess it was it Saturday? Yeah, Saturday. Looked really good. 2 innings pitched, 1 strikeout. Phil Maton came out, 1 inning pitched, 2 hits, 2 strikeouts. And Ryan Stanek finished it off. Hit. He also he gave up an earned run, a late run there for the Phillies. And that was Cody Clemens, who had a really good at bat for him. And, you have to figure it's garbage time almost. That's why they bring Cody Clemens. Well, that's maybe not exactly why they bring Cody Clemens in. But you're thinking, all right, this game is pretty well in hand for the Mets. Let's just get out of here. But Clemens gets up. He knocks a run in. He gets on base. And you know what? That forces Edwin Diaz to get up and start tossing the ball a little bit. Now, does that affect him? I don't know. I was never a bullpen reliever. I was never a closer in Major League Baseball. So I'm not really sure. So I can't really answer to that. But Cody Clemens, he's not had a bad series, for what he is. And, I always tell my wife whenever, I see him up to bat, I say, hey, we just seen him play back in August at Lehigh Valley, the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, the Phillies AAA. They were playing the Syracuse Mets. We went to that game, and, you had Cody Clemens playing for the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. And, on the Syracuse Mets side, you had Luis Angel Acuna, both guys on the playoff rosters here. So that's really neat to see. So that was a 6-2 Mets win. The Mets take a 1-0 series lead. Heading into game 2, you have you know what? I have a quick scoring. Let me do the scoring recap too. I wrote down a whole bunch of notes and I forget where I'm at then. So the Mets didn't bats didn't wake up until we went to the Phillies bullpen, which I mentioned already. Mark Vientos has had a terrific series so far, a terrific postseason, to be honest with you. He singled knocking in Bader to tie the game up at 1, and that was in the 8th inning off the Phillies bullpen. Nimmo knocked in Lindor with a single as well. That gives the Mets a 2-1 lead. Alonso sac fly, 3-1. We're feeling good about this. Not great, but good. You're feeling good. His sac fly made it 3-1. Then J.D. Martinez, who's his struggles are well documented in the second half of the season here. He ripped a nice single up the middle to knock in Brandon Nimmo. Then Starling Marte, he capped off the 8th inning, a 5-run 8th inning with the sac fly as well. Made a 5-1 Mets going into the 9th inning. The Mets were able to get out of the bottom of the 8th without giving up any runs. The Mets come up at the top of the 9th. And Nimmo had an RBI single in the 9th, made it 6-1. Of course, like I just mentioned about Cody Clemens knocking in, making it 6-2. So that was your final 6-2. The Mets bats came alive there at the end. Some come from behind magic once again. And it's a little bit different if you're down multiple runs. 1-0. That's you're just looking for a fat pitch, possibly, and you're back in this game. But when you're down like 2 runs, 3 runs, 4 runs, it's a little bit different. You're looking for a little bit more magic, as it were. But we'll take it. Absolutely, very, very, very exciting. Great stuff from the Mets. So we move ahead to game 2. The Mets get a taste of their own medicine, as it were, kind of, if you look at it that way. As they go ahead early, the Phillies come back. They take the lead. The Mets retake the lead. The Phillies come back, take the lead. The Mets tie it up. And in the bottom of the 9th, the Phillies were able to walk it off against the Mets. It was an exciting ass game. It's a game I was happy and annoyed. I had to watch that with my daughter. I was happy because it's fun to watch games like that with my daughter. You don't get many of those, where I can actually get her to sit down. She's a Phillies fan and watch pretty much a whole game, right? So we're both sitting there, but also the sly giggles every time the Phillies scored a run. It's kind of under my skin. So, dear old dad is thinking I had to put up with these damn Mets, blowing stuff or stinking or letting me down for so many years. And she's barely had, she's seen the Phillies in the World Series. She's seen the Phillies, NLCSs and stuff. And she's in the Phillies, looking pretty good for a few years. And I've had to endure a lot with the Mets. She doesn't understand. She doesn't understand, damn whippersnappers. But anyway, Sevy had a good start, a very good start. It was a great start. It kind of went to a good start after the 6th inning, or during the 6th inning. He ends up going 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, no walks, 7 strikeouts. And, that I think it was the 6th inning pretty much did him in. Gave up 3 runs there. It was a 2-run shot to Harper, crushed it to center field, absolutely crushed it. He had him down in the count, I believe it was 2 strikes. If I remember correctly, I might be mistaken. But I had him down 2 strikes in that at bat, and just laid one out there for him. I think it was a fastball, and Harper hit it. It just lit a fuse under that team. The place was going bonkers. It was so quiet. The Citizens Bank ballpark was so quiet. You could hear a pin drop after that blast. It was loud. It was raucous. And then you have Castellanos come up next, and again, it ties it up. The place is just going nuts. And most teams in that atmosphere fold, but not this year's Mets. This year's Mets, they come back in the bottom of the inning, and Brandon Nimmo gives us the lead again, 4-3. Got a couple comments here. Dave Yarnell says, "Hey, big man, are you surprised that every playoff series so far is tied a game apiece?" No, they're pretty good series. Every series, whether it's American League or National League, you look at the Dodgers Padres. They've seen each other so many times, and that Padres roster is a very good roster. It's a very good roster, and they're right on the Dodgers' ass at the end of the season. They were nipping at their heels for that West. It's not like the Dodgers ran away with the West. They were right behind them. So I'm not surprised by that one. The Royals Yankees, a little bit surprised because the Yankees are obviously, they have the more star power, the bigger stars, but that's the things with the Royals. It's, the no-namers. When they won that World Series against the Mets, I think it was in 2015, they didn't do it with a bunch of superstars. They did it with a bunch of no-namers and, like your Eric Hosmers and stuff like that, guys that nobody heard of until then, Salvador Perez. And since then, those guys, Salvador Perez obviously is the long-termer there, and has been outstanding. Possibly not without knowing exactly his career numbers, but I know he's one of the best catchers in the league. Has been one of the best catchers in the league. Could be leading to a Hall of Fame career. But anyway, that one surprised me a little bit. The Royals do it a different way than the Yankees do, and they shut down the Yankees, especially was it last night, and were able to get that win. They had one big inning. I think it was 4, 5, 6 runs in the one inning, and stifled those big Yankee bats. The Tigers, Indians, again, they see each other a lot. The Tigers crazy hot. The Indians have been, pretty much in first place the whole season, and both of them kind of go off pitching. Yesterday's terrific pitching from I can't think of his name for the Tigers. Who's the Cy Young candidate? It starts with an S. I keep thinking Strudel, but it's not Strudel. Is it Streusel or something like that? I keep thinking pastries, and it's not a pastry. He's not a pastry. He's a pitcher. But yeah. But I'm not surprised at all. They're all really good series. I feel like all these rosters are fairly even, except like I said for the Yankees and Royals. But the Royals, I think the Royals and the Yankees beat with the much better pitching, more consistent pitching, and you're just playing small ball. And they have a couple of guys that can put the ball out of the yard. But like we seen out of Perez yesterday. But I'm not overly surprised. Robbie Kelly checking in. Thanks for checking out the show, buddy. He says no because these series are all pretty even. Yeah, they're all pretty even up and down the roster. And like I said about the Padres and Dodgers, I'm not surprised at all. You can put those guys up, roster, pair these guys off, and it's a very even roster, very even teams. And the Padres playing very good baseball down the stretch, and they're right on the Dodgers' ass. The last quarter of the season or so. All right, so going back to the beginning of the scoring here for game 2. Vientos, he had a 2-run homer in the third that put the Mets up 2-0. Pete Alonso added a solo shot in the 6th inning, making it 3-0. That felt like a really good lead for the Mets. You had to feel comfortable, especially the way Sevy was pitching. You figure Sevy would give you 6 or 7 innings. He's used to going deep into games. And then you turn it over to the bullpen, and we'll figure it out from there. And that's kind of where we're at right now with the bullpen. It's kind of where we'll figure it out. We don't really have anybody really set. This is our 7th, this is our 8th, this is our, obviously our 9th inning guys would be Edwin Diaz, and we'll talk about that in a minute here. 7th inning, like I mentioned, Harper 2-run, then Casty back-to-back home runs, make it 3-3. Then 7th inning, Nimmo retakes the lead with the solo shot. Absolutely awesome. Terrific for Nimmo. He's been awesome so far in the playoffs. Every at bat, just seems to be putting the ball in place somewhere and hitting the ball very, very hard and having good at bats. So awesome. Eighth inning, the Phillies retake the lead off Edwin Diaz. So Edwin Diaz comes in the seventh inning as the Mets brought in Jose Butto in the seventh inning, and he gave up a hit, and they brought Diaz in to face, I believe it was Schwarber, to face Schwarber. To be honest with you, I would have rather him leave Butto in, or even just go somewhere else. Now, I don't like them bringing Diaz in the seventh. If you wanted to bring him out with one out in the eighth, I'm fine with that. But bringing him in one out in the seventh, the dude has thrown over 100 some pitches, in the last couple days or last 8-9 days, whatever it was. That's a lot for him. It's a lot for a reliever, and the high pressure situations. Sooner or later, he's going to fall off, and he fell off this time. He was able to get out of the seventh inning, got the big strikeout against Schwarber, but unfortunately, in the eighth inning, it did not work out for him. As the Phillies retake the lead off Diaz, as Bryson Stott hit a 2-run triple, and he's going to be a thorn in our side, I believe, this series. Bryson Stott is a big game kind of guy, and I hate his walk-up music. I really do. I don't know why. I don't like that song, and that I hear it, and that I can hear all the Philly fans singing it, it boils my blood. So there's that, I guess. I don't know. That's my thing. That's my bag. That's my issue. So we'll go from there. JT Realmuto, fielder's choice, made it 6-4. And the Phillies, they had to be feeling good now. They had to be feeling good. All right, their bullpen had a hiccup there in game one. Game two, surely it won't be the same. They'll be able to button it down, especially with a 2-run lead, and go home against these Mets. But they had to face the top of the Mets order there in the ninth inning, and which can be scary. Mets have a scary lineup, just like the Phillies have a scary lineup. I do feel like the Mets go more hot and cold, though, than what the Phillies do. I could be wrong because I don't watch the Phillies every day. I haven't followed the Phillies all season. I've looked here and there, one, because I have a lot of friends that are Phillies fans. My daughter's a Philly fan. So just, keeping tabs on the Phillies and where they're at, what they're looking like, and what they're doing, and also the times that the Mets have played them. But it seemed like the Phillies lineup has been a little bit more consistent than what the Mets lineup has. I know the Phillies, they built that huge lead early on in the season, looked like the best team in baseball for probably 2/3 of the season. The last third, kind of coming down to earth, a bunch of injuries and guys going hot, guys going cold. It happens. It's a long season. So they go into the ninth inning. Lindor, he's able to work a walk. Vientos comes up. He barely gets one over the wall, but he gets over the wall. That's all. It doesn't matter if it's 375 feet or 475 feet, as long as it gets over that wall. Mark Vientos comes up huge again. The excitement, the energy, the energy drained out of Citizens Bank Ballpark once again. And you have to have all sorts of confidence that we're going to extra innings. And I feel like if this game does go into extra innings, I like the Mets' chances. I really do. But unfortunately, Phillies being the home team, they do get the advantage of batting in the bottom of the inning. So they come up in the bottom of the ninth, and it doesn't go the Mets' way. So that's basically what it comes down to. And unfortunately, they don't challenge Harper, or even Turner. Especially Harper. They brought Tyler McGill in after Edwin Diaz got rocked there in the eighth inning. So Tyler McGill goes 1 in the third innings pitch. And but anyway, he walks Turner, walks Harper, and just you could feel it coming. You really could. He had to pitch to Castellanos. And Castellanos earlier in the game was getting booed. And of course, it's been put out there about him saying these effing people and stuff like that. Just getting his balls clapped by the Philly fans, and so he's another one that's over it or just that doesn't deal well with his own fans booing him. The opposing fans, yes, you understand, but your own fans. But it happens everywhere. It's not just Philly. I'm not coming down on Philly because it happens everywhere. Every team's fans boo their players when they're not performing, and Castellanos wasn't performing up until his home run. That solo home run, the back-to-back home run. He wasn't performing. But he comes up now with 2 runners on with a chance to become the hero. And there it was. There it was. And it is The Phillies walk it off. Castellanos gets to celebrate with his kid, and my daughter laughs at me, and I go and take a nap before work. So, so it is what it is. Got a couple more comments here. We got Stacy checking. What's up, Stacy? She says New York is the worst, and she says they will boo you so fast. Stacy, I can't attest to that. I can't agree or disagree. I've been to Philly. I've been to Citizens Bank Ballpark. I've been to Shea Stadium. I've been to Citi Field. I've been to Philly more often because it's a little bit closer. It's easier to get to for me. I'm a little bit more confident getting there. I have zero confidence that I can make it to New York and make it home. I feel like if I drive to New York, I will get lost and I will become somebody's back alley bride. And as I mentioned before, I will not do well as a back alley bride. And if I would do well, I don't want to know that I will do well. That's something that no man should have to find out in a way where he's lost in a city, that he's going to be somebody's back alley bride and that he's good at it. And I don't want to know about that. But I know I've been to the one time at Shea Stadium is Mets versus Braves, and my coworker of mine, he drove. I was a navigator. I did get us lost in New York, but we figured it out. This is back before GPS. We had a sheet of paper that said MapQuest on it, and if you know, you know, right? And we were able to navigate eventually and figure it out. We got to Shea Stadium, and I didn't see anything where Mets fans were being dickheads to Braves fans. I did see some razzing and some joking around. There was a lot of laughter, though. So it was a lot of laughter. I didn't see anything malicious. Now, I was also at a New York Jets game. And it's the Jets versus, I want to say the Buffalo Bills. No, okay. I was at two Jets games, actually. Jets versus Buffalo Bills. My mom gave me a ticket. She was a Jets fan. And me and my brother went there, and it just fight after fight. It seemed like Jets fans and Bills fans. They're both New York. I get it. Whatever. Both AFC East. I get it. Lots of fights. And it was also the last game of the season, so maybe that was part of it as well. The Jets were good. The Bills were bad. As the Mark Sanchez era. But anyway, I was also at the Jets versus Raiders game. And the Jets absolutely throttled it. 34-3. It was terrible. I was happy. I was drunk. I drank a lot of Yuengling's Hershey's beer. I had my Batman mask on and my Raiders gear. I was getting a shit ton of props from Jets. I even got a couple pictures with Jets fans. Like, hey, Batman over here. Get a picture. So they were cool with me. I've seen quite a few areas where Jets fans were really laying into Raiders fans, a lot of screaming in their faces and stuff like that. Again, I wasn't there for the whole conversation, so I don't know exactly what it led up to. But anyway, being back down in Philly, Mets versus Phillies is the Phillies home opener a couple years ago. DeGrom's pitching for the Mets. Shut down the Phillies the first 6 innings, and then they pulled them, and then the Phillies came back to win. I think the Mets were up 2-1. And then the Phillies came back to win that game 3-2. But leading up to that, Philly fans were just, they're quiet, they're moody. Again, I'm not a talker. I'll clap if my team does well, but I'm not a talker. I'm not there to talk to razz people or get in people's face or laugh at them because their team's losing. I'm not. That's not me. That's not who I am. But some people are. So the guy behind me, he was kind of making fun of me. I was wearing a Mets t-shirt. I laughed with him. He kind of gave me a high five. Said, "Oh, you said you're a good sport." I said, "I'm not going to take anything personally." But he said, "I don't know you. You don't know me. So it is what it is." So, but I don't take anything personally. But then once the Phillies went up ahead, you saw more of the Phillies fans, screaming at Mets fans, go the F home, this, that, the other. So there was that. I didn't see any fights. But then now I also had a friend who was a Phillies fan that was just in New York this past season, just a couple of weeks ago, to see the Mets versus Phillies up in New York. And he had some issues with some Mets fans. So it goes back and forth. Like I said, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Some places are going to be worse. I think on the East Coast, New York, Philadelphia, Boston, places like that, it's probably going to be a little bit worse than it is, in Kansas City, Milwaukee, places like that. So I think part of the reason Joey Gallo left was because, and Joey Gallo, he sucked. Yeah, he absolutely sucked in New York. So if he didn't leave, I think they would have shipped him off somewhere. So it was Joey Gallo probably didn't have a choice. So series tied 1-1, and as a Mets fan, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled with that. So happy that the Mets are able to go in and get a split in Philadelphia. But you have to feel like you kind of let one get away, especially with a 3-0 lead. Could be 2-0. Mets in the driver's seat, just need one more win in New York, out of 2 games. But it is what it is. You're happy with the split. Take it any day of the week. Looking at tonight's lineup for the Phillies, they have Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Castellanos, Alec Boehm's back in the lineup, JT behind the plate, Austin Hayes, what is it, Jorge Sosa, I think, or something like that. Sosa, I can't remember his first name. And Rojas, Edmundo Rojas, rounding out the order. Pitching, you have Nola. Last time out, Nola pitched against the Mets was on September 13th. He went 4 1/3 innings pitched, 6 hits, 6 earned runs. He gave up home runs to Alvarez, Nimmo, Bader, and Alonso. Mets were all over him. I guess about the 5th innings where they jumped his shit. But before that, he looked all right. For the Mets, the lineup looks like Lindor, Vientos, Nimmo, Alonso, Iglesias, Jesse Winker back in the lineup. I'm super excited to have Jesse Winker back in the lineup. He hasn't been great for the Mets, but the one thing he has been, especially down the stretch here, the dude has been attitude. He's been a spark plug. He's brought a certain attitude to Mets, and I think we need that going back to New York. And I love it. I love Winker in the lineup, and I'm looking for big things from him. Marte, Tyrone Taylor, Alvey back behind the plate, and then at pitching, you have Sean Manaea. His last time out versus Philadelphia was on September 21st. He went 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, 6 strikeouts. That was an 11-3 Mets win. So I'm excited for tonight. I like the Mets tonight. I really do. I don't think it's going to be a crazy scoring game. I like a 5-2 game, I think, something like that. 5-2, 5-3. I did not like the way the Mets used Edwin Diaz again in game 2. I don't like him coming in that early. I understand bringing him in a high pressure situation, in a high leverage situation, whatever you want to call it. I understand it. But if you didn't use him there, maybe you have him available for the 9th, or maybe you have him available for the 8th when stuff's getting out of hand. But excuse me, it is what it is. I like him. If you're going to bring him early in the 8th. I don't like bringing him in the 7th inning. Now you lose him for later in the game when you might need him. And maybe he's out there. Maybe he's able to hold the Phillies off in the 9th. We go to extra innings. Who knows? You don't. If and buts were candy and nuts and such and such and such. I don't know the rest of that saying, but you get where I'm coming from. But I don't know. I don't think he'll be available tonight. And that's a bummer. So hopefully the Mets are able to get a big enough lead where it won't be necessary to have him. But it's all hands on deck right now. It's all hands on deck. If it has to be somebody like a David Peterson coming in, in relief, or Tyler McGill again, who despite giving up the walk off to Philly, I don't blame him for that. I just blame poor bullpen usage by Carlos Mendoza, who's been phenomenal. I'm not ragging on Carlos Mendoza. I think he's been phenomenal managing this team down the stretch, but it is what it is. So yeah, I like the Mets tonight. 5-2, 5-3, something like that. It's going to be a good close game. You're going to get a couple of big hits from both teams, and let's see what Sean Manaea has. The last couple times out, whether it was playoffs or the end of the regular season, he's pitched okay. He hasn't pitched dominant like he was for a large portion of the season, from I'd say middle of June all the way up until early September. His last few starts out have been okay. They've been good to okay, with I think one clunker in there, and but before that he was absolutely dominant. Where we were talking, maybe he gets not Cy Young. He wasn't going to win a Cy Young, but maybe he gets a vote or two. Who knows? But we'll see if we can get that old Sean Manaea back. All right. Okay, so that's all I have for today. I have to get rolling here. I will go live again tomorrow after tonight's game with the Bat Cave. Tomorrow is my normal day. I'm going to shoot for 10 a.m. Don't hold me to it because I'm a tired man. I'm a tired man. So hopefully it's early. And then I also like to get on sometime probably later tomorrow if I can, after I wake up and do Silver and Black Layer Raiders. But as of right now, the Mets, the Bat Cave, tomorrow, 10 a.m. Give us a follow here on YouTube and X. Follow, subscribe at Out of the Box Sports, at OOT Box Sports on YouTube and X. Please like, follow, and subscribe. And then myself on X at The Bat Cave, OOTBS. Give me a follow on there at The Bat Cave, OOTBS. And then my YouTube channel as well. After you subscribe to the Out of the Box Sports YouTube channel, give my YouTube channel a sub if you don't mind, at the Bat Cave _ OOTBSE. That's at the Bat Cave _ OOTBSE. If you don't mind giving me a sub there on YouTube, if you don't mind, after you subscribe to the Out of the Box Sports YouTube, that comes first, and the Bat Fry comes second. All right. Thank you, everybody, for following me, for watching, for viewing, for commenting. I appreciate it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel, 10 a.m. That's the normal time. So that's why I say same bat time, same bat channel. And of course, let's go Mets.